All right, welcome to another one of our pre-recorded interviews with creators. I'm Dan Wood. I'm part of the Graphic Novel and Comics Roundtable, part of the American Library Association. What you see here in front of you is a slide. We're going to be talking to Carly Usdin today with Rachel Parker. If you follow some of these hashtags that we have going on, you can see a lot of the other material that we are offering. One of the more fun ones is Online Reader's Advisory. If you're looking for a new graphic novel or comics to read, if you check out our social media, follow the link, fill out the form, we'll provide an answer for you within a few hours. All right, I'm going to take off the slide here and turn it over to Rachel and Carly, and you'll see me again at the end.
Awesome. Exciting. Okay. So how are you today? You just were talking about how you saw Westworld last night. That's how you knew it was Monday.
That's the only way I knew.
That's how the quarantine's going, I think, for everyone, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So,
I'm doing as well as I can be.
I think everyone's kind of just sorting it out for themselves, you know.
Yeah.
But the good part is that I think a lot of people have a lot of to be read piles they have to go through. Yes. So they're kind of sorting through all that, reading all that.
I definitely have a large stack of books and graphic novels that I'm gonna start finally.
We always say we're gonna start them.
I know. I've been saying it for years, and
exactly. There's boxes and boxes. I guess we'll kind of just go down the line here and get to know you, because that's the important part, right?
Vaguely.
So, Carly, how'd you get started in comics? Because I know you do comics and film as well. So was film first, or were comics like before? Like, how did that end up?
I grew up wanting to work in film and television from a pretty young age. I didn't know what that was going to look like, because I didn't really, as a kid, had no clue what the jobs were on set and like the different roles. So like I had no idea what that was going to look like, but I knew that I was really entranced by that. But the other thing that I loved so much growing up was comic books. I hung out in my local comic book shop in New Jersey like all the time. And so it never occurred to me that I could work in comics. It just was not something I thought about. And then a few years ago, a friend of mine, Shannon Waters, who's an editor at Boom, basically was like, you should pitch us some books if you'd be into that. And I was like, oh, come on, that's crazy. Like, I'm not a comic book writer. Like, I can't do that. But like, also, like, what a lifelong dream to be able to actually make a comic book. So that's kind of how it started. I pitched some stuff to them, and then that basically became Heavy Vinyl, and then did that, and then Avant-Gardes, and then another Heavy Vinyl, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it really just started with because she was like, hey, you should do this. I think you would be good at this. And I was like, you're crazy. And now it's a thing that I get to do. I'm incredibly lucky, and it's still surreal to go into a comic book shop and see a book with my name on it next to like House of X, and like it's just insane.
I know, that's wild, right?
It's so surreal still.
It's like I met you last year at Comic-Con, and I remember very distinctly there was a young girl who had cosplayed as Chris from Heavy Vinyl, and you like lost your mind. Like, how has that been? Like, seeing your characters from Heavy Vinyl and Avant-Garde and all of that, like, being cosplayed by like young people of like, and just people of every type, that must be wild.
It's absolutely wild. I remember that moment so distinctly. I have like photos of that moment from our signing at Comic-Con last year, like saved in my phone. I was just randomly happened upon them a few days ago, and I was just like, oh my God. It's the most surreal thing hearing that someone who's like 12 years old is in some way connecting with something that I'm writing. I've written both of these books because it's the stuff I wanted to read when I was that age, when I was growing up and figuring out my identity and whatever. Like, seeing books like this would have changed my life, I think. And they're also really inspired by things that I did really love at that, and like in high school and stuff growing up. But it's sort of like putting a more feminist or queer twist on it, and kind of doing that sort of thing. But it's maybe the coolest thing. I like.
Yeah, it was rad. It was really rad.
About it.
Like, that was, it was really cool to experience that and see that, because it was just like, I read the book, and I love the book, and every time someone tells me ask me what to read, I'm like, you need to read Heavy Vinyl. But to see that and see someone who is, 12 or so connects so deeply with something like that, it's just wild. And everyone says like comics are for everyone. Is that kind of what you want to like talk about when you go through these books and write these books? Is
Absolutely.
that kind of the, yeah.
Absolutely. I think comics are, everything's for everyone, but I think comics especially are for everyone. I think that's such an important message and such an important thing to think about for me at least, when I'm creating a book or writing a story or thinking about characters. I'm just like, what have I not seen before? Who have I not seen before? And how can I do something with that'll be even just like the slightest little glimpse at some kind of representation for somebody.
Yeah. Was it hard? I guess not necessarily difficult, but what was it like kind of pitching these stories to kind of a place that's more known for their very distinct way of telling a story, like very like superheroes and all of those type of things? Were there some challenges in telling your story or getting your story out there, or was Boom pretty open to hearing that?
Yeah, Boom has been incredible. And Boom is the only publisher that I've worked with. So my experience is very limited. I don't have anything to compare it to, but Boom has been absolutely incredible to work with. Every idea, the crazier I think an idea is, the more excited they seem to be about it. I remember after doing Heavy Vinyl, and they were like, would you be interested in doing some kind of sports book? And that's where I started brainstorming avant-gardes. I've played basketball since I was a kid. And so I was like, well, if it's going to be a sports book, it's going to be basketball. I'm not trying to learn a new sport at this point in my life.
And I already know what this is like.
Exactly. Like I know this world enough where I can like just not have to think about, I don't need to think about researching, and I don't need to think about any of that. I can just focus on the story. And that was really important to me. But I remember when I was developing that story and those characters, I was trying to figure out, what is the setting that they're in? Who are they? And I remember telling Shannon, like, I just kept making all the characters like queer and like, and
that's like your environment, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just kept going. I was like, and then this is a non-binary character. And then this is a trans woman. And then this person's queer and this person's queer. And then I was just like, is this too much? And I remember distinctly Shannon was like, well, if you don't do it, who's going to? And I was like, oh man, you hit me right in the feels there. But, then I was just like, wow, okay, I kind of can do whatever. I mean, I can at least like, there's no limitations to my creative process with both of these books, which has been insane, because when you work in film and television, it's sort of like there's always a set of constraints that you're playing in,
right?
Whether it's related to your budget or to your time constraints or what have you. Generally speaking, like film, television versus comics, I get that question a lot because I do both. Yeah. And for me, it's like the sky's the limit with comics. Like as long as you can write it and someone can draw it, it can happen, which is incredible. Like when you're making a film or you're making a television episode, you have to think about, we want like a dinosaur to jump out here. Okay, how are we going to do that? Is that a practical effect? Is that just like in general, comics is so exciting because it's just like the sandbox is just it goes on forever.
You get to develop a lot more through comics versus maybe like film is maybe 2.5 hours long.
Right.
So that would, I guess, would be the biggest difference between the two, because I know you do make films as well. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what are your films about?
I've done a feature called Suicide Kale, and I've done a short called Misdirection, and then I've worked a lot in like short form digital content and some television over the years. And those two projects are the ones I had the most like creative hand in. I directed both, but I wrote the short Misdirection, and they're just about groups of queer people doing things. So it's pretty similar to the books.
Like a slice of life type thing?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like Suicide Kale is definitely for an older audience, but Misdirection could be viewed by almost the same, maybe not as young, but close to the same age as our young adult Boom books. So I feel like if people liked one of any of those things, they would probably like the others.
Well, I personally haven't seen them, so where can people find your films to like screen them?
Totally. Misdirection is available to watch for free on Vimeo and YouTube.
Okay.
And Suicide Kale is on Amazon Prime, Canopy, Vimeo, and iTunes.
Nice. Okay. I'll have to check those out once we're done here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Are there any like maybe new things? I know Heavy Vinyl Y2KO just came out. It's awesome. Read it last night.
Oh my God,
is there anything extra coming out in that universe, or maybe like a whole different set of characters that's coming soon?
I'm sort of in that place right now where like it's all finished, you know, like the new volume is finished. So now I can kind of sit and be like, okay, what is next? Are there more stories here I want to tell? The Heavy Vinyl universe and the Heavy Vinyl characters that's like, I feel like that's like my baby. Like that was like my first book that I had pitched Boom, and we made it, and it was a story I'd kind of been thinking about for a really long time. So I'm so attached to them emotionally. Right. So I want to keep telling stories with them forever. So but I haven't really gotten very far in the thought process yet. But it's definitely something I'm thinking about. Yeah.
And nothing new, nothing aside from that, or you kind of just chilling, kind of getting through the whole quarantine process and all of that, and you'll get back to that, or?
Well, the thing with production is that it has all completely come to a halt. So anything I was involved in is kind of just on hold right now until things change. So really the only stuff I can be doing right now is sort of writing and developing, which is I'm trying to do that, you know, as much as I can, given the, you know, just like the psychological and mental effects of everything that's happening, you know.
I know, right?
There's days where I'm like, man, I'm going to like get all this stuff done. I'm going to like get ahead of like developing this idea. And it's like, then I just lie down all day. So, you know, it's every day is different. It's a journey, but definitely want to try to start kind of getting some my own gears working and turning and start kind of getting a little more focused on
new stuff
on
out.
Yeah. Stuff. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I guess let's talk a little bit of like what advice do you have for people who are, because it seems like someone approached you, not that you didn't have these ideas already, but someone approached you, and that's kind of like the golden ticket type thing, I think.
Oh
right?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Do you have any advice for people who are just wanting to get their stories out there, wanting to even just self-publish a web comic or anything like that?
I think the incredible thing about everything being digital and that transformation happening over the last 10-20 years is that like people can put out their own content anytime they want, and I think that's so incredible and so liberating. But also, you know, it comes with a lot of it's not that simple, right? Like there's a lot of privilege in being able to do that for yourself. Like I see a lot of talks with other directors, like famous directors, and they're always like, pick up a camera, get out there, make something with your friends, put it online. Bleh. And like, that's great. But like, and like that stuff is so much more accessible. Like the barrier to entry for making things on your own is so much, it's just, everything's more accessible, which is great. But there also still is an absolute level of privilege that comes with like having access to those things and have, you know, like you can't just be like, sure, everybody can do that. Just turn on a camera, make something, edit it, throw it online. Like, you know, that's, it's not very realistic. So I guess what I would say is like, if you have the means and if you are able, absolutely. Like we need your voice. We need everyone's voice. Like, I think that's so, it's so important, especially right now. It's just like, if you have a voice and you have a story and you think you have a way you can tell it, don't wait for permission. You know, if you can do it, go for it.
Yeah, especially with like the web comics and all of that. There's so many different ways and avenues to get your story out there. It's just
absolutely
a lot of people know how to write and a lot of people know how to draw, but not a lot of people know how to do the same thing. So that's like
it's also about like making those connections and finding people like you who are in the same position, maybe like career wise, like, oh, I have this story, but I don't draw. Like I don't draw. I can barely draw a stick figure. When I was a kid, I would trace superheroes out of comic books, and my art teachers in like elementary school thought I could draw. I was just tracing superheroes and lines. So great. I can't draw. So, you know, for me, it's like, I admire any skills I lack. I really, really, really admire in other people. And you know, it's just all about like finding people like you and connecting and finding things you can work on together. Definitely.
Are there any like, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh no, this is where it goes. I guess forums or things like that you could recommend for people, or is it kind of just like getting on, I don't even just Twitter and like throwing it out there? Or
I find, for me, I'm not on a ton of other platforms that like host comics and things like that. So for me, I discover things mostly via Twitter or Instagram. But those both have been such an incredible tool for discovery. You know, just like all the people I follow are always discovering things and posting about them, and it's like a surprise gift every now and then to like find like a new thing that you didn't know you loved, and then suddenly you're obsessed with it.
Yeah, and it just, I guess, depends on who you follow and things like that too.
Absolutely.
Which it opens your sphere up a bit.
Totally.
Well, I guess we can talk about this, how we're staying sane in the quarantine.
Sure.
And your work process, because I know we touched a little bit about how you're kind of like, well, today is Monday, I guess, and everything in your life has kind of stopped with the film production and the comic production. But how would you stay productive in a situation like this?
It's something I've been dealing with every day of this quarantine.
I think everyone has, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm trying really hard to not be too angry at myself for not doing things. I'm trying to just like go easy on myself and sort of let every day be its own thing. Like if like yesterday I woke up and I had this like intense desire to clean the house.
Right.
And so I told my wife, I was like, "You want to clean today? I feel like I really want to clean the house today." And now it's clean. So I think it's kind of about like, you know, it's like meet yourself where you are. I know everyone's talking. I've seen a lot of like it's good to have a routine and like it's good to have a schedule and like all those things are great if they work for you.
Yeah, but you can't like force the creativity.
Exactly. Creativity is it's already my writing process and my creative process is a mess. Like I don't have much of a process. I've been trying to figure out a process for myself over the past like 3 or so years. So this is weirdly challenging, but also almost liberating.
It's like showing you.
It's
like,
totally
this
like
is my
illuminating.
process, and it's weird, but it works, right?
So it's like every day I'm like, what's my process today? I don't know. Yeah. I've tried everything. I've tried like let's schedule out a day. That'll work for a few days, and then that doesn't work for me anymore. Then it's like okay, let's try to eliminate all distractions and just focus. But like with creativity, you can't just expect it to happen. I also I'm also an editor. I was an editor before I was ever a director or writer, like film, television editor, video editor. And I've been getting a little bit of editing work during all this just because it's something I can do at home. And like that, when it's just like a more of a mechanical thing for me, when it's like I know what this piece needs to be. The steps. And I know that I can just follow those steps. Like it's almost like my brain goes into autopilot. And it's like, of course, like editing is a creative thing and like an editor brings so much creativity to a project, but for the kind of stuff I've been doing, a lot of it has just been like just get it done, like, you know, like just tell this story, cut out what you don't need, etc. So I find that kind of stuff I can do easily. Cleaning the house is easy, but like when it comes to like, okay, why don't you sit down and like write an entire book? It's like
it doesn't work that way.
You can't force it. I think you just need to like go easy on yourself and realize that this is an unprecedented, very weird time. And just the fact that I'm home, I have my wife, my dogs, like we're in LA, so we have nice weather and there's like, well, it's raining, but when there's not raining, there's nice weather and I can go outside and I can walk the dogs. And just that in and of itself, I'm like, wow, I'm so incredibly fortunate and lucky to just have these like things that I probably was taking for granted before. And so I'm just trying to stay very like present in like
what the day is.
Yeah, this is today.
Like whatever the day actually is, what we're doing is more important than
one day at a time. And just I don't. That's the best advice I have. Is just one day at a time.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to the most coming out of the quarantine? Or just with anything, I suppose. What are you looking forward to the most?
That's a great question.
It's a loaded question. It's a perfect question.
I'm looking forward to seeing people and hugging them, visiting my parents on the East Coast at some point again. visiting my sister who just moved to LA a few months ago, but now I can't.
Is stuck in her house.
She's in her apartment. I'm in my house.
Hopefully you like that apartment you rented because you're not leaving it.
I know, right? I'm really looking forward to. I'm a person who's kind of a homebody in general, so I'm a big fan of like canceling on plans or like not going to things, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna start going to stuff after this.
No, but you like hope, right? Because I do the same, and I'm like, oh, you know what? After this, we're gonna go all bowling. We're all gonna go out do this. That's not the truth, but it's nice to think about.
Yeah, the thing I'm most curious about is just what I hope comes out of this. It's just like an absolute fundamental change in the way, this is getting very big picture, but like just in the way that we live.
Yeah.
And the way our lives are structured and the way government affects our I'm not going to get into it, but
right.
There's like some huge cracks in the system that have already been very obvious to a lot of people, but this is kind of exposing them on a much larger scale. And I really, 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 really hope that some huge, huge changes come out of this.
Yeah. And also how we interact with each other and how much yes, there are introverts like you and myself that are like, oh, let's make this plan. And then like 3 hours later, we don't really want to go. So we'll just wait until, but it's also like we notice, I think that interaction with people is very important, and taking the time to actually get to know each other and do different things is very important, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is an awkward transition, but you said you had dogs. Do you have pictures of your dogs to show people?
Of course I do.
I would love to see a picture of your dog. My cat is asleep over here.
Should I? How do I show a picture of my dog?
Do you have one on your phone?
Phone, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said, how do I show a picture of my dog? Like, I don't understand.
You don't go around showing pictures of your dogs to everyone?
I do. Okay, I have 2 dogs. One is this is Johnny Waffles. He's 4.
Johnny Waffles, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he's a cutie.
He's super cute. He's like a terrier, poodle, several other breed mix. And then he's 4, and then we have Arthur, who's a miniature schnauzer. He's the grumpiest old man, and he's like 14 or 15 years old. We've had him for a really long time. We moved out to LA with him from New York, trying to find a good picture of him. Oh, here's an old photo from 2017 where he had just gotten groomed. He looks very handsome.
He's the best. That's the best he's going to look right there.
Exactly.
Oh my God, so you have little dogs.
Arthur's under 20 pounds and Johnny's like 23, 22 pounds. So.
Will they ever make an appearance in one of your books?
Well, Arthur is the model. So in Heavy Vinyl, Irene and her girlfriend Simone have a dog named Buffy.
Yeah.
And that dog was modeled after Arthur. Almost named him Arthur, and then I was like, that's too much. And then Johnny hasn't made an appearance, but the name of the diner that they go to in Heavy Vinyl is called Johnny Waffles.
Okay, so that's where that came from. Nice. Yep, I love it.
Yeah, so those are my little homages to my little boys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it makes it a lot easier, I think, when you have your wife and now you have your dogs to be at home.
Yes, absolutely.
All of this. Let's see. You have one thing to promote. What would you like to promote on this live stream?
Heavy Vinyl Volume 2. That would be the thing I'd want to promote, because releasing a book during a pandemic is super
It's pretty wild, yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, this is so, oh my God. But it's something that I've been our whole team's been working on for a long time. I'm so proud of it. I love it. I think I might even like it more than I like the first volume. I just like, it was so exciting to get to come back and revisit those characters. So I would say, if I had to plug one thing, it would be Heavy Vinyl Y2KO.
Nice. And your favorite comic store? How about that?
My favorite, I have 2. I live in LA, so my favorites are Golden Apple Comics and Secret Headquarters. Those are the ones
Secret Headquarters, is that in New Jersey? Oh no, that's in LA. I apologize.
Yeah, it's in Silver Lake. Yeah.
Nice.
And then Golden Apple's like the closest one to my house, since Nerd Melt Meltdown closed down a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago, huh?
Yeah.
I've heard of Golden Apple. It's really nice.
It's really nice.
I haven't heard the other one. So
they let you bring your dog in too. So sometimes Johnny Waffles will come with me.
Johnny Waffles. Is there anything else you want to talk about today? Say to anyone else? Any advice or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know that I have any advice. But I will say that if anyone hasn't seen Birds of Prey, it is an awesome movie. I bought it on Amazon, and I've watched it like 17 times. It just makes me really happy. I'd seen it in the theaters. I was super, super excited about it. I actually had surgery like the week it came out, and so I had to wait to go see it. And then I almost didn't get to go because the pandemic.
Of the whole thing, yeah.
Because of all this. But I caught it in theaters. I loved it so much. It's just like sometimes in being like a filmmaker and stuff, people often ask you like if there's directors whose career inspires you, or if there's like a film or something that like you wish you had made. And I think my current answer to what is the film I had made would probably be Birds of Prey. It just checks every box for me. It's so good.
It's all about
that would be my big plug. Go watch Birds of Prey.
It's all about that breakfast sandwich.
Oh,
right?
I want one right now.
Oh gosh, thank you so much, Carly. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Rachel. This was really fun.
This is awesome. And I'll get back to you on those bagging boards. Absolutely.
Nice. Awesome. Let me know. And obviously it's not a big deal. I know there's
we're gonna try. We'll set you up. Don't you worry. We'll try.
You're the best.
Right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yes, read Heavy Vinyl. Avant-Garde is incredible as well.
I love Avant-Garde too. Yeah. But Heavy Vinyl is still kind of new, and I feel like there was a lot going on when it came out.
Yeah.
And there will be the final volume of volume 3 of Avant-Garde to kind of tie up that story. Is out in September, I believe. So that's a little ways away, but that's coming.
But it's nice, something to look forward to, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Dan, are you there?
Yes, I'm going to slide in now and just put the slide one more time. I just wait for the conversation to end naturally. When can I slide in here?
Sorry.
It's okay. So once again, thank you to Carly for participating in this. Thank you to Boom for helping us to set this up. And thank you, Rachel, for hosting the conversation we had today. One more time, please check out Libcomix online. We're doing a lot of great stuff. Follow these hashtags. Of course, follow Carly. I have to say I was now pleased to learn about Johnny Waffles.
Yes.
And made my day, personally.
Johnny Waffles does have an Instagram. It's Johnny Waffles Puppy. Just throwing it out there.
Okay, everyone follow Johnny Waffles Puppy. I know what I'm doing as soon as we're done.
I definitely have not been posting very much, so now I have to step it up.
All right, that's great. All right, thank you, ladies. I really appreciate it.